Hey guys! Well, I'm doing something a bit special today, which is to show you that I've made a magnetic WeiChuang GTS. Now, I'm not the first person to have done this, I'm certainly not the only person, but I want to take some time and show you both how and why I did it and how it turned out. So why would I even do a project like this? Well, my main for 5x5 before was the WeiChuang GT, which is a very smooth, very stable, and very easy to control 5x5. Now, people's main gripes with it are that it's a bit slow and that it winds up feeling a little bulky due to the mechanism. But for me, I prefer slow puzzles, as I've said before. My turning style isn't so great and is fairly inaccurate. So the faster the puzzle is, the less control I have over keeping the layers aligned, especially on larger puzzles, and the more likely it is to cause catching. So for that reason alone, the WeiChuang was the cube for me. So then along comes the WeiChuang GTS. Now don't get me wrong, out of the box, this thing was amazing. The outer layers especially are probably some of the better outer layers I felt on any puzzle, let alone just a 5x5. So 3x3 stage was just really fun to do on this puzzle. Now the problem is that it was really fast, which of course meant that I had trouble controlling it. It wasn't even very stable, so the layers themselves had a tendency to flex a lot more, and the inner layers themselves had a bit of an intrinsic catching problem. So it all added up to me losing time on this puzzle. And I knew that unless I could maybe make it more stable, maybe fix the catching a little bit, and maybe slow it down, that it just would not be my main. Now I had already done another magnetic puzzle project when I made my own WeiChuang GTS-M. So what magnets wind up doing is that while you're turning, it adds a little bit of extra resistance right there, right at the contact points when the thing is in a cubic state. So that means in between turns, it is more likely that the pieces themselves are going to have been aligned, and that helps prevent catching. Now, it also slows down the puzzle just a little bit. So in between turns, when there's no magnets in contact with one another, there's no extra force, but right there, it's pulling the pieces and squeezing them together a little bit, which creates a little bit of extra friction, but not much. So it does slow down the puzzle a little bit, but you really don't lose a whole lot of speed at all. And all of that is really exactly what the WeiChuang needed. So the magnets I wound up using in the WeiChuang were the same the ones that I used in the WeiLong, which were 1/16 by 1/8 inch diameter N42 neodymium discs. Now the reason I use such small ones is that there's not a whole lot of space inside the pieces themselves. So I felt a larger disc, like a 4mm diameter one, might not have fit. The other side benefit to the smaller discs is that they are just a little bit weaker, and I didn't want a very dramatic click in between the turns. All I wanted was just a little bit of extra stability. I figured if I needed more, I could snap everything off and try a larger strength, but I think it turned out pretty okay with what I used. Now I want to jump in and talk about the actual performance of the puzzle. So the very first thing I noticed after putting it together and doing the first few turns is that it all just felt very heavy. And of course, that's to be expected after throwing in an extra 96 pieces of metal that weren't there before. But it reminded me of the Aolong GT, how people said it felt like it had more momentum behind the turnings, behind the pieces. And I gotta admit, I didn't really prefer that on a 5x5. I didn't really like it. But in the last couple of days, I've gotten much more used to it, and I feel like it might even be something I prefer over time. I guess we'll just sort of see about that. But as you can see, turning on any layer, the thing just wants to stay cubic, which on any stage of Redux is going to be beneficial. Especially something like Last 8 Edges where you're doing a lot of this movement. It's really useful to just have an actual cubic puzzle in between different types of turning. And the catching, see if I can get it to, a little bit of catching there. The catching itself is almost entirely gone, except for a little bit, like OLL parity, I still get it from time to time. But overall, it is much better. I feel like the catching would have gone away with just normal break-in over time, but as soon as the magnets were in there, they seemed to serve a bit of an anti-catch function, a catch prevention function, which is great. And then of course, 3x3 stage is still amazing. It was great before, it's still great now. The puzzle itself hasn't really lost much of its speed, but it still tends to be more stable. It still tends to stay in an aligned position no matter what layer of the puzzle you're turning. So overall, I really think that the performance of the puzzle is greatly improved by having magnets in there. So yeah, I think that's awesome. So now the real question becomes, was this all worth it? Will this become my main? And I think the answer to that is a really solid maybe, perhaps even a probably. I mean, I still prefer the WeiChuang, but only because I feel like I still get better averages on it slightly. But even then, I've only had magnets in this puzzle for a couple of days now, and I'm already getting much better times with magnets than I was without magnets on the WeiChuang GTS. And of course I'm enjoying the feeling so much that it's encouraging me to practice, and then I'm only going to get used to the weight, I'm only going to get more used to the speed, and the kinds of things that would have prevented me from maining on a puzzle like this in the past are going to be alleviated by the increased ability that magnets bring. And why not? All the better if it's a puzzle that I was able to put a little work into that helps me appreciate it more. I kind of like that. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any other questions about the puzzle itself or the process of putting it together, hit me up down in the comments and I'll try and get to it there or make another video in the future. Till then, hope you enjoyed and have a good day.